All right, let's get into the quarterback situation. Mike referenced the fact that they may only keep 2 quarterbacks when we assumed all along they keep 3. And that's because if you've been living under a rock for the past 12 hours or 14 hours, you don't know, and now you do, that Joshua Dobbs has been traded to the Arizona Cardinals along with a 7th-round pick in next year's draft for a 5th-round pick. It's funny, the Browns obviously didn't plan on trading him because they had just announced that they were going to cut Kellen Mond. And then after this trade was announced, they announced that they were rescinding that
was
putting
crazy.
him on waivers. So Kellen Mond is back. But I don't think Kellen Mond's going to be on the 53-man roster. He's going to probably be on the practice squad, and they will call him up on game days so he can be to the 53, so he can be used as the emergency third quarterback with the 45 active players as the 46th guy. But Dobbs, we thought he'd be the backup. Many of us, myself included, kind of dismissed the possibility of DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, being the backup quarterback to start the season. And we were wrong because obviously he impressed enough. Like, he impressed the fans. But I'm like, well, we don't have the whole picture. The Browns see more. They want to have a veteran quarterback as a backup. Well, no, they don't. Because Dorian, and by the way, this is not only based on what we've seen in preseason games. They didn't just keep him because he's played well in preseason games. They keep him because of the whole picture. They see him in practice. They see him in the locker room. They see him on the board. They see his studying habits, and they're obviously convinced this is listen. Josh Dobbs is just a guy anyway.
Yeah.
But this is a pretty bold move, guys, to get rid of a quarterback with at least some experience who's been in the league a while for a 5th-round rookie. They must have a ton of faith in him.
Well, let me ask you guys this first, and we'll go whichever direction you want to go. Do we want to start with the real reason they traded Dobbs, or do we want to start with the DTR hype?
It's all about DTR is the reason they traded him.
I disagree.
Why?
I disagree. G, where do you want to start?
Man, it's the talk of the town. It's DTR.
Yeah,
but
but what are you talking about?
So here's how I see this whole thing playing out. Yesterday afternoon, Kevin Stefanski comes up during the show. We were on the air and says Josh Dobbs is QB2. Earlier that morning, they had waived Kellen Mond.
Right.
In my mind, and I don't believe anything coaches or general managers say at press conferences, I do believe that Kevin Stefanski was telling the truth yesterday at the time of his comments.
I agree.
Arizona looked at their quarterback situation
and
said, Colt McCoy's 37 years old. He is so washed. We cannot go into a game with him as our starting quarterback because the other 52 players on the roster know that we're officially punting, even though their entire season is a tank job to get Caleb Williams next year.
Right.
I understand that's the context.
Yeah, but it's not like Josh Dobbs is a short thing to be any good.
But Drew Petzig, who was here with Cleveland last year, was tight with Josh Dobbs. He's now in Arizona. They have that connection. I believe Arizona then called Andrew Berry in the afternoon and said, hey, we can't do this with Colt McCoy. We like Dobbs. We know he's going to not win us a bunch of games, but at least our team could feel like we're at least trying to compete this year. We'll give you a 5th-round pick in exchange for him and a 7th.
It's not like a 5th-round pick is that much in
He moved
return.
up, but it gets your initial investment back on DTR. So I don't think they went out like this trade happened because DTR played well in preseason. I don't think DTR played so good that they were like, Josh Dobbs, we're just going to cut him. Because at that point, they cut him. I think he surpassed Dobbs because the offer on the table was too good to pass up. And DTR played well enough in preseason for them to say, we'd like to have that 5th-round pick over a 7th-round pick, and we feel that Dobbs is not that much better than DTR. That's the real reason they traded him, not that it's a
I don't
trade.
think it's the reason because I agree with you that they didn't cut or move on from Dobbs because they were like, well, we don't need him. I think DTR played well enough in the end that they were comfortable with him as the backup.
Agreed.
Because it's not like, again, I don't think a 5th-round pick is that much.
But you move up 60 spots in the draft. And once again, the reality is if we're talking about the backup quarterback in the regular season, our chances of the playoffs, the Browns' chances of the playoffs are done.
Right.
So this is an insurance policy.
Yeah.
But
if they didn't believe in DTR, they wouldn't have made this trade.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
DTR played well enough in the preseason to give Andrew Berry the confidence
not
to
just
go get another asset. But throughout the preseason, up to this point of camp, to give Berry the confidence to do that. And before I pass it off to G, because I know you want to talk about your boy DTR, I mentioned a special gift that Butters brought for us, right?
Yes.
G, what are you most known for on this show? Kool-Aid. G. Bush, I now present you the official
We
DTR
actually
Kool-Aid
have
jug
Kool-Aid.
with
I didn't
every
notice. I didn't notice the
every
jar.
flavor of Kool-Aid known to man. We have a whole other
You
packet
should-
back
maybe
there.
the water actually won't taste like crap.
hold
with
on.
it.
We have every flavor of Kool-Aid known to man. That's shout out to Butters.
That's a good job
Butters,
by
shout out
Butters
to
right
you.
too.
Now let's get it going. First of all, there's not every flavor in here. You know why? What is this? Red.
Oh, just colors, right? You got
What is this? Red.
What does that one say?
that's cherry limeade.
Yep.
The first was black cherry,
What is this?
blue.
Red.
You think they're all going to taste the same?
Tropical punch. What is this one? What is this one right here? I got you. I got something for you. What is this?
Red.
Red. As you know, if you don't know, there's only 3 colors. There is orange, there is purple, and then there is red. Multiple reds.
Yeah.
He knows what to do. You look like you drank some Kool-Aid once upon a time.
Yeah.
Multiple cups of sugar. I don't know what that
We got
beast-
some creature flying around in here.
The creature wants my Kool-Aid. I don't want that creature.
What is that thing? I don't even know
DTR.
what that
It's like the bad guy from Godzilla. Was
Yeah.
it Mothra?
Mothra?
Mothra, yeah.
So I'm
Dragonfly.
gonna hold these
is. Are
like
you
I'm
going to
holding
drink
cars.
one now?
You'll die if you drink these. Like with no water.
No, you can pour it into your water.
Where's your sugar?
Oh,
I need regular. I need sugar like this. And when I talk about DTR, when I talk about my Kool-Aid package,
yeah.
here's how we do it right here. Bow. G. Bush is feeling this guy, right? Of course. Let's go, man. Listen, honorary member. Get him a scan pass. Can he come in when he wants? Just let him just come through.
And we're gonna put this in front of the. You probably
Yes,
can't see it. No,
we
you
should
can't
put-
see it. We'll make sure we got a nice step for it. Yeah, we're gonna leave it.
It'll be displayed on full
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it right here for
That's
right now.
well done.
display.
But DTR real quick, G. Bush. Let's talk about him because he has played phenomenal in the preseason so far. 348 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. His QBR according to PFF or his PFF grade, 81.1. You've been calling for him as QB2 since the Hall of Fame game.
Since the Hall of
So do you
Fame.
feel a little vindicated that the Browns have now
Of
officially made the
course.
move?
Like, listen, you guys.
You're comfortable with him playing if Watson gets hurt?
Hey, listen, I'm just running down the list of things that I've been right on for about ever. Like, I said Joey Woods was trash. Like 2 days afterwards, he was out of here. I've been telling you that. Well, you know where I stood on Baker, right? We get that. And I'm even the one who said Odell Beckham Jr. would get another big contract. And Lord turned around, he got one. I said the Cavs was going to draft Amani Bates, and I told him what it was going to do. And Amani Bates is balling. And then I jumped on the DTR train, and they said, "G. Bush, you right. You done talked it up so much. You right. Let's go reevaluate what we doing. We don't even need Dobbs. We know he's smart. Let's get some picks for him because we got DTR. He's the talk of the town. Every major league, they're like, man, this DTR guy. Even the great Aaron Rodgers at the Hall of Fame game. Hold on, let me put the headset on. Yeah, that kid, I know him. He was in high school. I used to see him DTR. Yeah, hey man, slide down DTR. Slide. Don't take that hit.
Before we break this, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
put this.
Yeah.
Butters,
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Are you more excited
That's
about
gonna break it
DTR or
if we leave it
Amani
right there.
Bates right now?
We're gonna do that topic next week. 'Cause
I
wanna see how they
gotta say equally, because Amani Bates, even though he's so savvy, that what he does is he still put out content. He's like, don't forget I can shoot. Don't forget we just saw it yesterday. But DTR right now, all jokes aside, can play the game. He came in, he was able to move the offense. He plays kind of like Deshaun Watson. He came in and did his thing. And Andrew Berry, if Earl was able to see it, you got to give him credit because look what he brings in the Austin Watkins guy. He leads the league in receptions. When you talk about quarterbacks,
Well, none of these guys have done anything in the regular season.
you're right.
Andrew Berry doesn't get credit until those guys play well
You're
in the
right.
regular season.
But if we talk about as we speak right now,
Yeah.
the number one quarterback people is talking about in the league is who?
D.
T.
No.
R.
Say it.
No. 'Cause
Say
nobody's
it.
talking about
Yeah, everybody. If you mention the Browns, they're like, well, DTR's playing better than Watkins.
Isn't it crazy? And this is
Yeah.
maybe my big takeaway from all of this.
Ain't it crazy?
That Deshaun Watson's played 6 games in a Browns uniform.
Yeah.
And in my wildest dreams, and I told you about my dream the other day,
Yeah.
where we had to roll you out of here
You were
because
dreaming about me.
I was dreaming up.
Yeah.
Can I just tell the dream real quick?
No.
Okay, whatever.
Just,
But would we have a backup quarterback who might be more popular than the starter?
no. Not
No.
true at all. You're out of your mind. But, by the way, wouldn't it be funny if after the Browns have had shit quarterbacks forever.
They trade Watson and DTR as a
If
stud.
Watson, it wouldn't be the funniest thing if Watson ended up being a disaster. DTR took over and became the next great quarterback in the NFL. That would be amazing.
But I just saw no world where a backup quarterback in the Watson regime would be like Jim Sorgi. Would just be a guy. The fact that he has a cult following this early into Watson's tenure, and he's earned it. He has earned it.
Yeah.
To this point, yes, he has.
He ain't done nothing wrong.
Yeah, he's done nothing wrong to make you not love what you've seen from him so far. But to have a guy that's already a cult hero to a guy who's as popular in the city as G. Bush.
Once we get into the season.
That's true.
Hopefully he doesn't play a single snap this year.
That's great. Like I actually do believe that. But the crazy thing about it is, it would be so ironic because the Browns haven't been able to get a quarterback in ever. And they've wasted capital after capital after capital. And I've always said it, and I'll stand on it till I'm done. To certain people always say that this preseason stuff don't count, you don't count, that don't count. Listen, I be telling people all the time. It's the way you think about it. Everything you do is an opportunity to show and prove what you can do. At one point in time, I can't say preseason don't count because I was doing YouTube videos in the ether, just doing YouTube videos. And somebody called me and was like, "Hey, you want to be on a show?" I was like, "You're lying. You're not gonna." But if I wouldn't have been doing those shows, if I wouldn't have been doing YouTube, where would I be today?
Think about the pre-show we did here, like the week before we were live.
Yeah.
And how much better we got from that first Monday till when we actually launched. And that first Monday we really launched was still a disaster in comparison to where we are now. Reps matter. And I understand.
Yeah.
Should I give you...
Real quick.
I love that.
I'm talking, Bull. Let me get off my shot
Should
here.
I give you the top 10 passing leaders in the preseason the last bunch of years?
Well, it's Kyle Sloter like 4 times, and he just got cut from the XFL.
Davis Webb.
Sucks.
Kyle Trask.
Sucks.
Jake Browning.
Sucks.
Brett Rippon.
Great.
Some guy, who's this guy? Skylar Thompson.
Kansas State legend. He almost beat the Bills in the playoff game last year.
Trace McSorley.
Penn State legend. Keep going.
And none of these guys are any good.
But listen, I get when you say in the grand scheme of things, preseason doesn't count, you are right.
Yeah.
Because the guys playing in these preseason games are not the guys who are making the majority of crucial plays on Sundays, leading a team to the Super Bowl. However, I do take it a little off-putting when you say the entire preseason doesn't count because you do need a 53-man roster, and depth matters in the NFL.
Okay,
and the guys at the back end of the roster,
I'm sick of
that's
that
where they get their reps.
It's just like Harbaugh the other day saying, being angry that people were making fun of their winning streak. Nobody's saying it doesn't have value to the team. When people make fun of their winning streak, or if I say preseason, I'm saying using it to analyze a team is stupid.
That's fair.
From the outside.
Or you saying to you as a person who is an analyst or a person who watches games, it has no entertainment value to you?
Minimal. Because I don't care. Because if I watch any game and I don't care who wins, then there's not that much entertainment value.
I agree when people say that it's not entertaining to me. Like, I don't want to see that. I want to see the guys that play in the start.
But you can't take the statistics
fair.
Make that seem like that translates to the regular season.
I don't disagree with that at all.
And that's not to say that DTR can't someday be a good player in the NFL. He might be. But at this point, we don't know. He's played very well. And the Browns obviously think highly of him, or they wouldn't have traded Josh Dobbs, and that's great. But we can't take preseason statistics and turn it into more than it is.
And you look at any position, quarterback, receiver, running back, there's no stats for offensive line, but sacks, interceptions. Like Ronnie Hickman may lead the league in interceptions in the preseason. 2 of those were absolute gifts, and then the one he made a phenomenal play on.
Right.
And I'm not taking anything away from him,
and but
that's not necessarily translatable to actual games. So in that regard, I do agree with you. But I do think there is value to preseason football, even if it's not on the big picture.
Team, sure.
Yeah, but you're right. Like the guys that we're analyzing here, 99.5% of the time have minimal impact when it comes to actually winning and losing games in crunch time in the NFL.
Right.
Like that part I'll give you, but I do disagree that it matters more than you like to say it does.
But it matters to the team, not to us. It shouldn't matter to us.
I think it matters. It matters to me because I think if you see a guy who can play, right, and the only way you can get to a point where you are a guy that is a star or a guy that contributes, is you have to make plays against the competition that you're up against, right? So if it has to be 3s or 4s or your grandmother, you got to make plays against your grandmother to get to play against the 4s, right? And then the 4s, when you get to the 4s, you better make some plays to get to the 3s. So we see what the progression is, but it's great because sometimes you come across some people that can help you out. And when you look at like a Watkins Jr. or you look at a DTR who's in a position to be a backup quarterback, you one snap away. Without them making plays against those other inferior competition, they would never be in a position to help the team move forward.
I got a story and a question. I'll tell you the story real quick. And G, I know you can relate to this ball. I'm not sure if you can, but remember like pickup basketball? There was always that one dude in pickup who was nasty. In my high school, it was Jason Kukulon. Jason Kukulon, you never thought you'd get a shout out on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, but there you go. Jason Kukulon would cook everybody in gym class.
Right.
And as soon as it was time to run a real play, he was lost in a soup. Dude did not know how to set a screen, could not figure out help defense, was literally implayable in an actual basketball game, but was maybe the best player in just random pickup.
There's multiple
What
guys.
do you mean in a random pickup versus?
So, like if you just 5-on-5 in the park.
As opposed to what?
Like an actual game where you're running plays,
actual
defense. Like we were messing around
Like
in the
with a
park.
coach?
Actual organized
An
basketball.
organized game versus just
Why
playing
was he
pickup.
so useless? He's stupid?
Well, it's two different games.
It's two completely different things.
But the guy who's the best shouldn't be useless in that.
All depends on what your basketball IQ is.
He's saying he's stupid.
No, basketball.
He was basketball stupid, yeah.
Okay.
Jason Kukulon's Jason, I hope you're doing well, man. I haven't talked to you in forever. I think
He'll
he's
be
mad
dead
now.
for all you know.
No, I saw him post on Instagram a couple months ago. So hopefully in the last
Stalking
couple
old
months.
friends, huh?
It just pops up. Not a big
Okay,
poster,
fair
but
enough. Yeah.
You in football, I'm sure it's the same way. There are dudes who in camps look phenomenal when the lights are on. You actually got to play, kind of shrink. And in preseason games, at least for the guys who are trying to vie for a roster spot, you can see, hey, you may do stuff in practice, but when the game's actually going and there's referees calling real penalties and there's not situations where you're doing X, Y, or Z, you got to just go make a play. Can they make a play? And I think that is something you can take away from preseason action. And we've seen DTR, when the lights have been brightest in the preseason, which in the grand scheme of things are 5% bright compared to a real NFL game, the dude just makes plays. And he's found ways to make plays. He's found ways to evade chaos, hit receivers in stride. He's been relatively accurate. I love the fact he's downfield making blocks.
He wasn't really accurate against Philly. He was 13 to 25.
65%. That's a round league average.
No, that's not 65%.
64.3%.
No. 13 of 25 is just over 50%.
Oh, his for the preseason is 64%.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Yeah.
But that's 3 games. He's thrown more passes than anyone in preseason.
Yeah.
To me, he's just shown he's a baller. Like, it may not translate. You're right. It may not translate when he's playing the Ravens defense or the Steelers defense on Monday Night Football. But the dude looks like a player, and we don't see enough in practice to know what he does because that's behind closed doors. We just see what we see in preseason. He looks like a real player.
You got to keep in mind that there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have looked like players in the preseason that weren't.
Yeah.
Lots.
But then again, like how many quarterbacks in the preseason come play in they played well in the preseason, get into games in the regular season. Usually they don't even have opportunity. Usually they play well and they sit behind somebody to be third or fourth string. So it's not like they're being groomed to take snaps. So
but neither is he.
Yeah, right. So if I look at DTR and I say, okay, well, I'm going to take something away from him because this is competition. But we also have to take in consideration that how would he look if you did give him 2 weeks of preparation, if you did tailor the game plan around him, and you did put him with guys like Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper and guys that can play.
I hope we don't find out this year.
Now, that's the one thing we agree on.
Yeah. Because if he plays this year, significant time, that's a problem.
Anything over 4 games.
Oh, even that,
I don't feel.
I mean, anything over at least in 4 games, you could say, can we squeeze out a 2-2 record? Can we just run the ball?
If the defense is as good as we think it could be, then maybe. But
anything over, if he has to play anything over 4 games,
it's a different beast.
Listen, you never know, right? As we talked about with Brock Purdy, nobody had even heard of the guy.
Hey, real quick on Purdy, did not play well in the preseason last year. Did not play great in the preseason. He's very mediocre. I'll look at his stats. Extremely mediocre.
Yeah.
No one went into last season in San Francisco saying, if Brock Purdy plays, we're going to be all right. That was break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant, and look what he did. So preseason, good or bad, never a true indication of how you perform when the lights are on.
Let me ask you this, though, Boo, because you're of the school of thought thinking that, like, quarterbacks are the most important guys on the field, right?
Right.
And if your quarterback goes down, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
My question is to you: why isn't it like in baseball, like they have multiple relief pitchers, right?
Right.
And the bullpen is you need multiple guys coming out the pen that can get out. If the quarterback position is so tough to play and it's so important, why don't people put a bigger emphasis on their backup quarterback? Why would you not draft like a backup quarterback? Or why wouldn't you say, we need to allocate a large sum of money or just to have the best? Because here's the thing.
Because anybody that's good enough wants to be a starter. Right? I mean, there aren't that many. Like, how many good quarterbacks are there? Like, good enough guys that you feel like you can win a Super Bowl with?
12. And that might be pushing it.
So, but even if you can't get a top 12 quarterback to be your backup, why isn't there a market for like guys like a Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, let's see, who else is a bona fide guy?
Colt McCoy.
He
was a guy like that.
You know what the answer to that is? There's only so much money to go around.
Yeah.
And most teams, if you have a good quarterback, you're paying them 40, 50, 55 million, and then to pay a backup 6, 7 million, which is what those guys command.
Yeah.
That's 6, 7 million for your defensive line, your offensive line, your receivers. There's not enough money to go around.
Most of these teams say, listen, you want a guy who can fill in for a couple of weeks, because if the starting quarterback gets hurt for the year, you're probably done.
And most quarterbacks miss 2 games a year.
But
that's the stat. Most quarterbacks miss 2 games a year. If you average out the games played, starting quarterbacks start the season to end.
Yeah.
Most quarterbacks miss a game or 2.
Right, and a good team can survive that with a serviceable backup quarterback. But I don't know. Maybe the Browns will be so good that Dorian Thompson-Robinson gets to play the final game of the year because the Browns have their spot locked up.
Now hold on.
Now that would be the only way I'd want to see him.
Now listen. I don't want this to happen. Please don't do it. Like this is something that I see in my crystal ball. Don't give him a package. Don't give him a package.
Don't start that.
Don't do that to us. No. Don't give us a package.
We saw Brissett come in on 4th down against the Texans last year.
That's ridiculous.
Do not take Deshaun Watson off the field under any circumstances. That would be a terrible decision. I got Purdy's preseason stats last year, just for context. He played all 3 games. Played pretty significant amount.
Yeah.
In 3 games, he threw for 346 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 59% completion percentage.
Oh, he
was very mediocre against the third-string guys he was going against. So, just for context, there you go.
No packages. That would start a media.
Yeah.
Why you're a $230 million quarterback and they're taking you off the field?
Yeah.
What does that say? Oh Lord, don't.
Let me ask you guys this, Tyvis. Before we get to our next topic here, and you got something you got to hand us on?
I got to get a PCC read in, but you go first,
ahead.
Bull.
You got the PCC read?
I can do that.
Go ahead.
All right, you guys. We went out to the internet to ask, who are you more excited for, DTR or Amani Bates? And whenever we ask the internet a question, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio, and all locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, get a full-time benefit package and paid time off, and the signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com to learn more. So, guys, just so you know, everybody's on the DTR train. 71%
it's
to
football.
29%.
It's football season.
Everybody's on the DTR train.
Because if during summer league people were going bonkers, and obviously Amani Bates has a better path to playing time.
I was just gonna ask who has a better path to playing, like Amani Bates, DTR. Like if we don't even want him to have a package, like he's gonna be on ice the whole year.
Right.
Like
Amani Bates could play some.
Yeah, he could.
Whereas if DTR plays, it's not good.
Yeah.
Unless if he's great, then okay, it's fine. But we don't want to find out this year.
No, that's even bad for us again. If he's great, that's the worst thing that can happen.
No, I don't think it can ever be bad if somebody's great.
What are we doing with that 230?
Well,
but you're not paying DTR anything for 4 years, so you actually can have those.
I don't even want to start it.
It goes back.
Deshaun Watson becomes Trey Lance.
No, I'm not doing that.
Gee, it goes back to my devastatingly evil content idea that I.
Right. And it's kind of.
I've already schemed it up.